everybody, my name's Elizabeth and welcome back to my channel where I encourage everyone to get out and enjoy their life, even if that means doing it by yourself. I am actually back at Carillon Historical Park in Dayton, Ohio. I have been here in the past and I have another video of this place, but I did not do everything the last time I was here because I was recovering from a broken leg and I just got tired part of the way through. And the main thing that I didn't do was the Wright Brothers Museum. And I really, ever since then, I've been thinking, I'd love to go back and do that again. So here I am. My main goal is to see the Wright Brothers exhibits today, but if I come across something else I didn't do last time, then I will stop and do that too. So let's head over there. Okay, so if you saw my last video, you'll know that I started on that side. I saw that schoolhouse and I saw all those buildings, and then this side is what I didn't do. So let's make our way toward the Wright Brothers and see what else I missed. Okay, so the first thing I found is not the Wright Brothers, but it's called History on the Hill. And the sign said something about talking about the history of the Hopewell Indians, the local geographic history, as well as the use of this area as a quarantine hospital for smallpox victims. So in this area around Carillon, it was talking about how there are still some of the mounds and things like that were built by the Hopewell Indians in this area. So I'm not going to be able to go outside and find it myself, but here is a picture of what it looks like in the area. And then I was just learning about the quarantine hospital that was for smallpox victims between 1912 and 1937, which it says the remains of that building was right outside this building. I don't know if I'll be able to see it from here. But oh my gosh, I guess I've never seen a picture of someone that was suffering from smallpox. So let's go outside and see if we can see where that hospital was. Yeah, as I suspected, I can't make out anything back there. So let's move on. Okay, now this is a paper mill, but I'm not sure if it's a reproduction or an actual one that was maybe moved here like a lot of these other buildings. So let's see if we can find that out. Okay, Mad River Pulp and Paper. Okay, so apparently paper and pulp for paper used to be made out of cotton, and rags, old pieces of cotton. And so, yeah, they would be cut into tiny pieces and mashed up and made into pulp, and I don't know the process, but all this stuff in here, and then all the way up there and around here, they would hang the paper to dry after it was made. So here's a shot of the front of the building, as well as the waterway on the side. I never did find a sign saying whether or not it was a real paper mill that had been moved or if it's like a reproduction. So it is a mystery. Okay, and here we're coming up to the main attraction for today, the Wright Brothers National Museum. I think part of this is their old bicycle shop. Maybe not the original one, because I did read something that the original one was moved up to the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit. But I might be wrong about that. Let's find out. It says entrance. Oh, let's read this first. Okay, this is a replica of the shop in which Wilbur and Orville Wright designed and built their first 3 airplanes. I just want to pause there and remind people that the first planes were built in Dayton, not in Kitty Hawk. Remember that. Yeah, I was right. In 1936, Henry Ford bought the building and moved it to Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan. So this is a replica that was built in 1972. I do have plans to visit Greenfield Village sometime, so hopefully I'll get to see that building. Okay, let's go inside. Okay, now we're inside. There are some other people in here, so I'm gonna uh, have to be creative with how I film in here. But this sign over here says that this museum has more Wright Brothers artifacts, than anywhere else in the world, including the original 1905 Wright Flyer 3, the world's first practical airplane. Okay, so here we have artifacts from their family, including a Bible that their father, who is a bishop, had and was in Orville's library at the time of his death. Their parents were really, really supportive. Their father was around when they invented the airplane. He was very supportive. He just asked that they never fly together, which makes sense because if your sons are trying to build something that flies that's never been done before, you don't want to potentially lose both of your sons in one terrible accident. And so they honored that, it said, until they were sure that it was safe, and only then did they fly together. Then before they started working on flight, though, they owned a printing press, and then they started finding that boring and not very profitable, and so they uh, decided instead to open a bike shop during a time when bikes were very popular in this country. This map shows the location of every bike shop while they were doing business in Dayton, which is a lot. And the stars, I believe, are right where their businesses, where they moved several times. And I believe got to be one of these over here where they invented the airplane. It was on West 2nd Street. Or wait, sorry, West 3rd Street, and this is 3rd Street. So, yeah, one of these. And here is what their bicycle shop looked like inside. See, they have different tires hanging. And this is supposed to be their sister, who was a school teacher, and she would come to the shop to use their telephone to make phone calls. So they sold new and used bikes, but they also repaired them in their shop. And I think it said that they invented designed 2 of their own brands of bicycles, and this was one of them. And while they were working on aviation, they did bring in help to run their bicycle shop. And this figure here is supposed to be Charlie Taylor, who they brought in. He was a skilled machinist, and he helped the Wrights build the engine for the world's first successful airplane. Which is actually what we see here. Yeah. So in this room, we have like a timeline of different people who attempted flight. There are a lot of people unfortunately perished in their attempts to fly. There are people that like invented gliders and things like that, and hot air balloons and different things like that, or unmanned vehicles that could fly. Like there were some steam powered ones, like in the earlier version of this one, that flew, but it didn't carry anybody. It just kind of like flew around on its own. But historians agree that Orville and Wilbur, had the first uh, piloted, powered, controlled, heavier than air flying machine, meaning that it wasn't just a balloon or a glider or something like that. It was something that that was powered, that they could ride in, that they could steer, and that like lasted and it could be sustained for more than a couple feet. And was not just a glorified hop, because there was one that I was talking about that they were like, some people were like, oh, that's the first time they flied, and everybody was like, actually no, they essentially just like hopped off of a ramp and that was it. And, and then the wings kept them going a little longer. But and then this guy, um Samuel Pierpont Langley, um had a design, and he had two unsuccessful flights just a few days before the Wright brothers had their successful flight. But then in 1914, a different guy named Glenn Curtis rebuilt it and made changes and tried to prove that Samuel Langley had invented flight before the Wright brothers. And the Smithsonian accepted that for a long, long time, even though Orville had like sent him documentation proving that that was false. That Samuel's airplane never actually flew, and that the new guy Glenn Curtis had made changes, and so that didn't count. And they denied his claim until 1942, when the Smithsonian was finally like, all right, fine, we were wrong. The Wright brothers were the first ones. Um, yeah, so that's kind of amusing that they had to issue a retraction and an apology to the Wright brothers because they took this kind of like fake version of this guy's flying machine as the first instance of sustained flight. So one of the most lasting contributions that they made to flight, other than, inventing the airplane, was the propeller. And their design had never been seen before, because they decided that like propellers that were like used for like marine like boats were not going to be useful for airplanes. So they invented their own, and it took a lot of testing and a lot of arguing and debating about physics, and they finally came up with something. Turn the crank to spin the propeller. It's like a pulley system in the back. Nice. Okay, so we're about to see the Wright Flyer 3, which is the world's first practical airplane. Okay, there are a couple more buildings here that I've never been to, so I decided to come. The first is the Watervliet Shaker building. It was a print shop that was built in Van Buren Township, which is now the city of Kettering, in 1819, and then moved here. So let me show you the outside and then we'll go in. Alright. So this was a print shop run by Shakers, but it said that you can tell that it was a Shaker building just because of how simple the lines are and things like that, because that's how they built their furniture and everything. Okay, the upstairs has just kind of a variety of different things that the Shaker community made. They were known for their quality of construction. They made furniture, baskets, woodenware boxes, and flat-bottomed brooms. They also made textiles, and they were the first people who put seeds and sold seeds out of like paper packets the way we see today. Okay, and the last building, I think, that I haven't been in is this horse barn. It's officially called horse barn number 17. Technically I was in here because the train actually goes right through it. And so when I rode the train last time, I did technically come through here, but I have not walked in and seen what there is. Okay, so this barn was originally built at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds to house the horses during fair time, because before the Ohio State Fair was permanently relocated to Columbus, it used to move around, and it was held at 5 times in Dayton, and so they built this big horse barn to kind of accommodate some of those horses. But anyway, yeah, let's go inside. I'm hearing horse noises, but I don't think they actually, those must just be recordings, because I don't think they actually have horses in here right now, or ever. Yeah, just recordings. I see fake horses, but I don't see any real horses. Watch this one move and surprise everybody. Fake horse, not moving a muscle. Oh, except its tail moves. Okay, it's animatronic, right? I'm not crazy. That's not a real horse. But they throw me off by putting a little motor in its tail and making it move. Yeah, that's definitely plastic. They like to mess with me. Oh, I misspoke. I misread, because while it did house the Ohio State Fair 5 times, the last time was in 1867, and this building was not built till 1901. So, while it did have to do with the Montgomery County Fair, it was not built because of the Ohio State Fair and was not used by the Ohio State Fair. But still cool. Alright. Oh, and there's... Okay, I call it a fake farmhand sitting up there on the wall now, but watch him get down and walk away while I'm walking past. If he is real, he has the most plasticky skin I've ever seen. But they do their best to make you think he's real, because they actually have snoring sound effects coming through some speaker somewhere. Well, that was a really fun day here at Carillon. I have been thinking about it since I was here last, because it's such a cool little piece of Dayton history, and it's so cool to see what a big impact this, moderate-sized city has had, not just on the country, but on the world. and to see the Wright Brothers exhibit, which is really what I regretted not being able to see last time, and to see the Wright Flyer 3. It was just a great time today. Now, if you are interested in what else they have here at Carillon Historical Park, check out my video from last year, because I covered the rest of it the first time I was here. And also, if you're interested in what they do for Christmas, I did come here for Christmas a couple years ago as well, so check out that video. Well, if you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lead the Life Vlog, and I'll see you next time. Bye.